Pat Noonan following tonight's Game 2 loss to Columbus. Game 3 will be Saturday back in Cincinnati. Coach, you want to start with just your thoughts on the result?
Yeah, that was a tough night and one to quickly forget about. So no time to put our heads down. We get to go again on Saturday, and our focus will be on us and having a good week and being ready to step on the field and have a much better performance on Saturday.
I'll go to questions. We have one just to indicate by raising your hand. We'll go to Jared first.
Pat, the first 30 minutes of the match, particularly before the red, but I guess even before the first goal scored, feel like a very different game than what happened over the next of it. What did you see happen over that kind of 12 minutes, 15 minutes following Miles' yellow card? I think is a good place maybe I want to start, but and what happened in that period that kind of changed the game?
If you're just looking at blocks in the first half, the first 15 minutes we just didn't get into a rhythm early on with some of our moments where you need some composure to kind of change the rhythm and the tempo and really the field position. So it took about 15 minutes. It didn't feel like we were, constantly taking on a wave after wave of chances, but we were defending deeper than we needed to on a couple occasions. And then I thought we got into the game then and moved the ball in a better way. It wasn't really about chance creation. It was just about finding a better rhythm with the ball. And then I think the pressing on our right side, we, for whatever reason, didn't get those moments right, and they were able to find the space behind Evander and Pavel, and that caused us more problems than I think it should have. But and I think that was a big part of where and why we had to defend deeper. And then obviously the goal's preventable, the first goal, and we lose some momentum there, and then the red card. So at that point, just trying to get into halftime and make some adjustments with personnel, which we did, and try to see how we could get out in the second half with maybe some structure and, just maybe get them in transition, and maybe at the end of the game, if the score line was the same or if we could get one back, go after it in a different way. But it didn't get to that point. So
you mentioned off the top, putting this game, but you go again on Saturday. You put this game. The structure of the playoffs provides you that opportunity, and that the score line, 1-0, 4-0, doesn't really matter. It's a loss one way or the other. What do you hope you can kind of take away from this game, or is it truly a?
We'll be moving on. Of course, there's always lessons, but we won't analyze much of a game where we're down for 60 plus minutes, however long it was. But the first 30 minutes, there was some good stuff to at least talk about.
You mentioned going into this game, you expected Columbus to make changes. Was there a thing that they did tonight that they did particularly different from the first game that might have changed how the game was played?
Yeah, there were some things we saw different that we'll talk about. Okay.
Did you feel like you guys were prepared for those adjustments they made? And I guess what?
Yes and no. Yes, I think we were prepared for some of the things we saw. I just don't think the communication and the understanding on the field in a couple situations was what it needed to be.
Evander got a second yellow card in the series. I know it's not on one player, obviously, but he's a player that has talked about, big players perform in big moments. What more could you see from him? And I guess anyone, but mostly.
It's tough to assess guys when you're down a man for that long. Like I said, in the first 30 minutes, first 15, we couldn't get into a rhythm because of some of the missed pressing cues, and then with the ball, it just took us a little bit to get into a rhythm and confident. But when you're down a man against a team that's strong and certainly good with the ball, you're gonna find it hard to look at guys and say they could have done a lot more.
I know Nick was kind of questionable coming into this match. Can you talk about what his health is at this point?
Yeah, he was potentially available in a late game role, but to be honest, knowing that we were playing another game despite this result, it didn't feel like we needed to risk him.
Also, the players that were kind of coming back from injuries, Luka, Jabari, what did you see from them in the limited minutes that they played?
Yeah, then we utilized those last 30 minutes to get some guys going, to manage guys on cards, which was Miles, which was Pavel. Evander was going to be one of them, but picked up that second. So it was getting Luka going, getting Lucas going, getting Ayub going, getting Obi going. So that was part of the reasons for the changes.
Pat, obviously, there are going to be emotions that come with a match of this magnitude in the playoffs, but did you expect the kind of chippy, contentious nature of the match tonight?
No, I think it's it's playoffs and it's a rivalry. So you see it come out in different ways at different times, but none of that surprised me.
What was the difference in your mind between last week's match and this week's match?
How we started, like I mentioned, it's some of the pressing that we got wrong, and then it's situationally we're down a man for a period of time where it's going to be tough when you're also down a goal and then they score on that free kick. So playing with 11 men is important, and then starting in a better way is important.
You talk about flushing it and moving on. How do you make sure that response is handled the right way by the team?
Well, there's no guarantees, but we just talked about it in there. It was a bad night, and fortunately for us, we get to go do it again on Saturday. So this isn't the end of a season. It's a bump in the road, and hopefully we get a good response. So there's no reason for them to to lose confidence of going and performing like we did in game one. So it's just lessons of why the game looked like it did, and really it's you got to play with 11 men, and you got to start in a better way.
Coach, obviously being down a man hurts it, but what defensive adjustments would you like to see from your team moving forward?
Yeah, we'll talk about those things. I'm not going to divulge too much, but there was a couple things that you expect and you prepare for, and making sure that the roles are clear. And so when you're not seeing it, it's important that we're communicating to guys on the field. But those are things that if we start the game in a better way, I think you don't need to make adjustments.
Similar situation to last year's first round too. Is there anything that maybe in the back of your mind, your players' minds, about how last year kind of ended?
No, it's a lot of guys that were on the field weren't a part of it last year. Some were. So for guys that were a part of it, understanding the the importance of how you rebound from a tough night, helping educate some of our newer faces as to what some of the people that were part of the team last year went through. But it's a new year, and so like I said, we should have every reason to be confident to go in front of our home fans and go perform again.
Coach, with the red card, with the early goals, confidence can get rattled. What steps do you take when you see that perhaps your team has lost a little bit of their composure going out there?
I don't know if we lost composure. I guess if you look at a red card, in that moment, that could be a lack of composure. I think the intention of trying to slow play down, but the awareness of how to do it in a way where you just can't take a card. So you try to educate guys on let your keeper try to bail you out. Taking a red card is at that stage not worth it. And then, of course, you don't want to see a performance and a result like this, but we're all big boys. We're professionals. Guys can and have rebounded from, similar disappointment over the course of a season. So try to use those to learn and to understand how to come back. And for the most part, all year, I think whenever we've talked about the disappointment of a game or a performance like tonight, the group has been ready to step up. So it's my job to help prepare them the right way and for them to have the right belief and confidence despite a setback.
It also seemed like there was a lot of slippage in the first half.
Another lesson, too many guys potentially without the right footwear.
We'll go to Laurel Moreno. Go ahead.
Max Arfton seemed like he was pretty impactful for them tonight. Was there anything specific? I guess, what did you see from him, and what made him such a challenge for you guys?
He's a strong player. I think his play under pressure and how he moves inside and combines and runs off the ball. He's very talented. So, how do we limit him in space is always a key. So getting the release right, understanding the runs behind. So if you look at the first game, we did a much better job, and so now you look at this game and they made adjustments and had guys perform better than potentially the first game, and so now we have to look at some of those things on our end and how do we limit somebody like him having a bigger impact again in the third game.
Last one here with Carter.
Pat, you guys worked all season to be able to have home field advantage in this series, and now you're going back to your own building for Game 3. How important is that to be able to play a deciding game in TCO Stadium?
Yeah, that's the importance of a strong regular season and being towards the top of the conference. So we get that opportunity, and like I said, I'm looking forward to how we take advantage of it.